Research shows a strong connection between white supremacy, support for men's rights, and anti-abortion views. Now, this is a war on women, and the link between that, and there's a link between all three. Um, the efforts by Republicans and their sycophants to roll back abortion rights continue, with the looming federal ban on the abortion pill. I think the abortion pill is called mifepristone, if I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. So that pill accounts for more than half of all pregnancy terminations each year, and the case is being in that particular case is being decided by U.S. District Judge Matthew Kaczmarek, and he was litigated by the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is a conservative Christian advocacy group that was also involved in the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision last year, which they overturned Roe v. Wade, which was a mistake on their part, and the nationwide right to abortion. Now, Kaczmarek, who's a Trump sycophant, has adopted various terms used by anti-abortion advocates in his comments on the case, referring to chemical abortion and mail-in abortion. For example, phrases that are widely rejected in medical professional settings. His language has led to concerns that the judge is tipping his right hand to the anti-abortion movement and would likely declare a national ban on that pill. Now, the right-wing Christian dimension to the anti-abortion movement has long been fucking obvious, and even as the proportion of evangelical Christians has steadily declined in American society, the religious right has become a highly influential force in the Repug Party. Now, what is missed in this discourse, however, is any discussion about the ways that both white supremacist and male supremacist ideology appear to be driving the contemporary push to outlaw abortions in America. Now, with the pro-life activists and the advocates, and they rarely build their campaign to outlaw abortion as explicitly driven by a commitment to the men's rights movement and its efforts to dominate every woman, no matter the race. And they tend to avoid any overt association with racism or white supremacy. But in cases where a link with racism becomes explicit, those articulating the connection are quickly denounced. And for example, Representative Mary Miller, who's an Illinois Repug, encountered significant blowback for announcing at a 2022 Klan rally that was attended by Trump that she wanted to thank the former squatter in the Supreme Court for the Dobbs decision on behalf of all the maggot traitors in America who appreciated the historic victory for white life, and they don't give a shit about anybody's life anyway. Now, Miller quickly backtracked, claiming that she had meant to say victory for the right to life, which no, she meant white life. That explanation was clearly undermined by her history of embracing far-right reactionary beliefs, and basically including Adolf Hitler in a speech one day before the January 6th Klan insurrection. Miller's denials across multiple instances of mainstreaming white supremacy are typical of the reactionary right in the Trump era, as increasingly extreme ideals are offered as red meat for the GOP base. And while those who utter them later protest that they were taken out of context, kidding, or misunderstood, the contention that the Trumpian right is pursuing an extremist war against women has gained traction in the wake of the 2022 Dobbs ruling. Now, for example, Margaret Atwood draws on her classic dystopian novel to warn that the U.S. is on its way to becoming a handmaid's tale republic, establishing a state religion to assault women's reproductive rights which now belong only to the state. Atwood reflects the theocratic dictatorships do not lie only in the distant past, but there are a number of them on the planet today, and what is to prevent the United States from becoming one of those dictatorships? But what if the war on women is also driven by a vision of society that is dominated by the white heterosexual men, and that it idolizes a national identity that marginalizes and suppresses people of color, and particularly women of color? And to test this position, there was a survey with the help of the research team working in association with the Marcone Institute for the study of racial and social justice at Lehigh University. Now, back in February of 2022, Marcone survey had contacted a national sample of 1,021 Americans, asking them their opinions of various social and political issues as related to questions of white supremacy, male supremacy, and abortion. The survey found significant evidence of the racialization of anti-abortion politics and the American right via the mainstreaming of white supremacy. Only 15% of American adults overall agreed with Mary Miller's claim that the Dobbs decision was a victory for white life, and the number was more than twice as high, 35% among Trump sycophants. Now, this is fucking disturbing and illuminating to find that more than a third of Trump sycophants embrace the white supremacist values and link them explicitly to their anti-abortion views. Now, this is significant evidence of the mainstreaming of white supremacy, even though most Republicans do not endorse this sort of toxic ideology. Now, what's even more disturbing is the finding that an even larger number of Americans are susceptible to men's rights ideology, and that such values are linked to the racialized ways that people look at abortion. Now, the Mark Kahn survey includes a 4-question index that gauges Americans' openness to various heteronormative beliefs that are the core of the men's rights movement. Now, these questions include asking respondents whether they agree with the following assertions. Sometimes a man may need to use violence if they feel it is necessary to get respect, which, if a man has to use violence to get respect, then they're not really a fucking man at all. In a marriage, women should obey their husbands. Technically, both should obey. Basically, the woman and husband should obey, would have to try to basically listen to each other. It is unnatural to identify as a gay, lesbian, or bisexual. It is unnatural to identify as transgender. Now, these were questions that were asked in that particular survey. Now, overall identification with this heteronormative index reveals that a large minority of Americans are susceptible to these values. 41% of respondents agreed in the Mark Kahn survey with at least one of the 4 values. 28% agreed with at least 2 or more, and 11% agreed with 3 or more. Now, these are not significant numbers, but these values are also tied to susceptibility to the men's rights movement's values and opinions regarding white supremacy and abortion. Now, utilizing statistical regression analysis of the Mark Kahn survey, we measured the relationship between openness to heteronormative beliefs and agreement with Miller's claim that the Dobbs ruling was a victory for white life, while controlling for various other factors, including respondents' income, age, education, race, gender, political party identification, like the Republican, Independent, or Democrat, or whatever the fuck you want to identify as, like ideology, conservative, moderate, or Democrat, and personal financial situation, very somewhat good or very somewhat poor. Now, susceptibility to the reactionary heteronormative value that drives the men's rights movement is a significant predictor of white nationalist-friendly views of abortion. Now, to explain this even further, as one moves from individuals with the least favorable responses to our heteronormative index, 61% of respondents agreed with none of the 4 values, to those who were the most favorable, 3.4% of respondents argued with all 4 values. The likelihood of agreeing that the Dobbs ruling is a victory for white life increased by 52% after controlling for all the other variables in the analysis. Public support on the pro-Trump rights for the Dobbs ruling is driven to a significant extent by white nationalist values that evaluate the white children's lives above children of color and above the lives of the people of color more broadly. This is an important finding because it suggests that many people who oppose abortion rights in the U.S. are not being honest about their motives and seeking to downplay the racist, white supremacist aspects of their politics in relation to abortion and women's rights. The anti-abortion politics are about more than just race. They're also about a way of looking at the world that idealizes masculinity, misogyny, and the anti-LGBTQ identities. Now, with these forms of bigotry being increasingly normalized under Trumpism and within contemporary Republican politics, despite the rhetoric, in other words, the anti-abortion right is not simply concerned with the unborn's right to live. Now, the evidence clearly shows a link between the values of the men's rights movement, racial bigotry, and anti-abortion politics. Now, the Christian Republican right wants to control women and maintain the white heteronormativity as the dominant social political hierarchy. And seeking to control 50% of the population and deny them the right to make their own reproductive choices, it infringes on the very foundation of our democracy. So if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bells. You can also make sure to hit the like and subscribe. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, if so you can be notified when a new video comes out. You can also go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the video. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just as little as a few bucks a video or a month, your donation can help go a long way. And thanks for listening.